Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another ARMA 3 Shoutcast recording live here at Bravo Company's Fight Night event. Joining me now is a good friend of mine. He's one of the leaders of Raven Tactical, ObsidianZephyr.
Thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have got an awesome event planned for you today. It is going to be, I think, around a 25 versus 25, 50 players total in this matchup. But before we get into the commentary, let's start by introducing the teams. On REDFOR, we've got Viking, the 29th ID, and the 2nd MRB. And on BLUFOR, we've got Bravo Company, the 71st SOG, and OGC. Now, we see both sides kind of nearing each other within around 500 meters at this point. Perhaps a close contact going to be starting here fairly shortly. But Obsidian, let's quickly shout out the objectives for this matchup on your screen now. You can see the first objective. This is the FOB complex that BLUFOR needs to capture. And a little bit over to the east, we can see I'm not exactly sure, again, Obsidian, the general or the actual location of this cache. But there is a cache in this general vicinity that the BLUFOR needs to destroy as well. Let's take a look back over at the front lines right now. Oh man, within 100 meters of each other, Obsidian. Do you see a contact happening in this next few minutes here, or do you think they're going to kind of back away?
I think they're going to actually end up waltzing up on each other through that tree line there. As soon as BLUFOR, this being spearheaded by Yankee Doodle there on the north side of that tree outcropping, they're going to waltz right to the end of that, and they're going to find the Echo 2 group there of Op4 at the church on the north side of the town.
To be honest, taking a look at the ground level from that REDFOR perspective at the church, BLUFOR is basically in defilade. The terrain kind of slopes downward as soon as they cross this MSR over here. So REDFOR, I don't think unable to see BLUFOR at this time, or at least until they start advancing or continue to advance forward towards this green sloping house. Let's take a quick overview perspective, Zephyr, and we can see, REDFOR deciding for an interesting, almost like a triangle approach here, a little bit of a wedge if you zoom all the way out here. BLUFOR deciding to consolidate themselves a little bit more, definitely trying to approach from that northwestern side. So we'll see if that works out for them. Honestly, we'll see if, I guess, the major kind of component of this matchup is REDFOR, whether or not they respond to where BLUFOR is coming from. Because basically, all these units on your screen now, all these REDFOR units, are honestly unable to do really anything at this point, unless they relocate, maybe swing around the flank of this BLUFOR force and kind of hit it from the side.
Yeah, they've really got nothing much that they can do. They've got spotters all over the place, and until BLUFOR makes a move, nothing's going to happen.
BLUFOR, a major element. I think that's like 2 squads worth pushing forward in this tree line right now. We do have the first shots being fired. I'm trying to idea where it's from. I can't exactly see, but that's definitely got the attention of the REDFOR by the church in the tree line. I think that's just a single unit, Obsidian, in the tree line. That's Corporal Nelson looking towards the possible line of BLUFOR advance. What he doesn't know is that there's 2 squads right across the tree line from him. Yankee Doodle's team going to be the first to kind of cross this opening. I'm not exactly sure if REDFOR is going to have eyes on them during this crossing. There's just too much defilade there.
Yeah, there's about 2 meters of terrain between them. He's not going to be spotted if he continues straight to the FOB.
That being said, Obsidian, look towards the, I guess that's towards the east. We've got a fire team's worth of BLUFOR advancing across the open ground, and I can't believe it. They made it across the open ground without being spotted at this point. They made it towards a nice 2-story building they can anchor off of, and perhaps even flank the REDFOR over at this church complex. Let's take a look at Yankees Doodle's team, and he hasn't made that bound yet. We'll see if he's able to respond. Ooh, he's taking some accurate GLs, though.
Those BLUFOR have completely made it all the way to the north side of that town, and none of the Op4 spotters at the church have detected them at all. They're just sitting back and waiting for BLUFOR to get to them, and
although,
it's going to be an extremely close engagement.
That being said, we definitely know the REDFOR knows that there's BLUFOR in this tree line, right? They just took a whole bunch of GL fire, and we'll have to see how the REDFOR decides to respond with their other units. Taking a farther look back, and we see there is a fairly decent REDFOR force further into this tree line towards the FOB. Let's take a look at the other side of the map. There has been a slight rearrangement of the forces, more orienting towards that northern sector. That one fire team that crossed the field earlier is continuing to push forward. I'm not exactly sure if they've been spotted yet. Let's take a look at the REDFOR unit, not looking towards the other side of this MSR. So this REDFOR unit continuing to move forward unopposed towards that cache location. There we go. Shots finally being fired from that fire team. Going to be vaulting over the fence.
Blue 4 just took down that Op4 spotter at the church. They've only got one more guy within 100 meters of them before they start taking any real threats.
That was a great shot. Look, just a pinhole from that building they're anchoring off of. They are fairly clumped up with little cover at this time, so there's two Op4 units that might be able to take advantage of that, but we're going to hop over to the other sector, Obsidian. We'll see what's happening in that tree line. GL's frags and going down inside that tree line, and Blue 4 is stopped dead before they can cross this open. REDFOR, you know, Obsidian, what do you think of this? REDFOR is not even situated at the, very edge of the tree line here. They got a great line, maybe 100 meters back from that tree line.
Yeah, they've got very little variation in their terrain, and assuming these guys can get their GL sights to the right distance, they can just shell these guys.
I mean, honestly, that's what's happening right now. It seems like it's a GL war back and forth as grenade launchers are just being popped between these two tree lines. Let's take a look back towards the... I guess there's two fire teams worth here. And they're actually taking fire from a REDFOR unit at the church. I thought they mopped him up over by the church, but there's one REDFOR remaining. He is the PKM gunner, so he's going to see if he can do any kind of damage. Shots being fired all around, and he gets shot on his retreat. So that is the last REDFOR cleaned up at that church complex. The only negative for the Blue 4 now is the REDFOR right in front of them definitely knows their locations. REDFOR deciding to crawl across that open field towards the Blue 4, waiting for them just on the other side of that tree line, as well as Shelby. And T-Mace moving up on towards that two-story building. Gonna be some close contact CQB engagements here shortly.
Those Op4 don't know what's going to hit them soon. That's certainly a very interesting way to cross the field.
Well, I mean, at least they haven't been spotted yet, and Blue 4 may just pass them by. We'll see. In terms of like a deflate or like looking towards the terrain, I don't know. Maybe they'll be able to see them, maybe not. But if they're able to get this field crossing, completed and flank the Blue 4, that just might be a few free kills.
Definitely. Move of the game if they manage it.
Blue 4 units continuing to move up near this two-story. Taking some crazy accurate GL fires as Op4 as they try to cross a little bit of an opening or a clearing between these two patches of trees. This Op4 unit is under fire. He took a lot of GL fire. You can see the damage on his character right now, unable to run, forcing to crawl at a very, very slow speed across this clearing. Probably will be able to make it though, so I mean, good on him. Is continuing to take fire, but I think he's just about to move out of the line of sight of the Blue 4 in that town. Looking towards the other side of the battlefield, man, that Blue 4 approach has basically been stopped, stagnated inside that tree line that we covered earlier, unable to make the crossing between this clearing here, and we'll see what the Blue 4 decides to do. Honestly, Zephyr, if they decide to move east towards this town, I think that's probably their best bet. They've basically been forced to a halt in this tree line and aren't doing much in terms of being supportive of the efforts inside the town right now.
That seems to be what is actually happening. You'll notice there's a group being led by Stardog, and another group that's being led by, what's this guy, Poops? Poops is leading that group. Both of them, they're branching towards the town, trying to swing around rather than crossing the open between the town and the forested area.
That's got to be the right move here. I mean, they tried to cross that open area. It didn't work. They took a whole bunch of fire and GLs. Might as well take the route that's, being exploited in terms of obtaining a tactical advantage, the easiest route forward, and that is through this town. That being said, Zephyr, I mean, the two guys are just about made it across that open field, and they're in a pretty darn good position to put the hurt on Blue 4.
I'll take back that special comment. That might actually be the most effective way for them to have circumvented this Blue 4 push.
Yeah, I mean, definitely now, with Blue 4 at least flanked to a certain degree, we'll see how fast their advance is able to move. They definitely have the numbers on this point, though. I mean, taking a larger look back, we can see that there's a whole bunch of Blue 4 elements, at least 4 Blue 4 elements on that location, perhaps around, maybe like 15 guys worth, so taking on 15 versus perhaps around 8 or 9, Blue 4 definitely have the numerical superiority, but the Red 4, with their height advantage, there's a little bit of a slope here, and with the defensive advantage in the CQB environment, we'll see what they're able to do.
They'll have to do it pretty quick. There's 5 Blue 4 on the cache location, or rather within 100 meters of it. They probably have a visual on it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if the Blue 4 are able to do anything with that. No, I think that actually the cache location is a little bit further back. That's actually Red 4. If you see, there's a two-man Red 4
the cache location.
Back.
If you take a look on the map there, the cache location is at the intersection on the south side of that town. It's at the 3-way intersection on the western side.
I can't ID it specifically, but either way, shots being fired, CQB engagement right now. I think that was our 2 Crawley friends engaging units over by this 1-story house. Yeah, 2 Blue 4 units. They know there's definitely an enemy right behind this house complex. We see some casualties occurring right on this corner. That's 1 Op 4 and 1 Blue 4 apiece. And I think that's Sebastian for the Red 4. Taking a look at the numbers, heavily outnumbered at this point. I'm still trying to look towards that
crawlers.
I can't ID it. I can't see it.
It's there. It's directly adjacent to a single plank fence there at the 3-way intersection, where exactly where the mark for the bomb is, or not the bombs. Sorry about that. The cache.
Well, either way, we'll
west of that white smoke.
Yeah, we'll be able to see it when they decide to blow it up. Which maybe eventually, but they still got a while to go, pushing forward towards this small little village. Only 1 Red 4 remains in the village proper, but over to the flank near this tree line, our 2 friends are still alive and are still pushing forward on their bellies. Blue 4 making some moves, slowing down their roll a little bit inside this village complex. I think that perhaps is the best route at this time. I mean, they want to keep their guys alive. They know they're facing an uphill battle, literally, and they know there's enemy contact within this village. So, Sebastian under heavy fire, and you were right. That cache was destroyed. I must have had it at the wrong location on my map, or at least I ID'd it wrong. But that cache is down. Great shot. I think that was an RPG or an AT4 from that Blue 4 team. Just rocketed that thing out of existence. Sebastian on this corner was taken down, as well as the units that crawled across that field. One of them has been eliminated by a tree. Only 1 remains. Blue 4 doing a very effective job clearing the Op 4, moving forward through this town.
Not sure what Op 4 is doing at this point. A majority of their forces are on the west side of the map here. They're just sitting there, just waiting for Blue 4.
I guess they're
pretty stale.
Yeah, maybe they just decided to evacuate that cache location and are going to put all their chips into defending the FOB, but even looking at their location within that FOB's vicinity, they are not on the right angle. They are over to the southwest of that FOB when they need to be towards the northeast. Even taking a look at the numbers on the side here, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I mean, a definite advantage for that Op 4 side, or for that Blue 4 side, excuse me. Blue 4 deciding again. I mean, now that they've secured this village, probably taking a moment to regroup, to plan their next step, because you got to remember, this route of approach wasn't meant to be their primary route of advance. Their primary route of advance was supposed to be down here, over to the east, and crossing this clearing, which it seems like there's a team or two about to do now, but Blue 4 definitely in a commanding position as we take a tactical overview, and you can see the lines have kind of straightened out between the two teams. Blue 4 generally on line is a straight, I guess that's a east-west axis moving forward, and generally so is the Op 4, but definitely with less numbers. Blue 4 still clumped up fairly significantly inside this village. Op 4 just waiting for them at this point. Obsidian, I mean, thank you for coming on for me for this shoutcast. Perhaps you can give a little shout out to your own YouTube channel or your community.
Yeah, sure, why not? Just ObsidianZephyr on YouTube. Raven Tack itself doesn't really have a YouTube channel per se. We got lots of posters, but other than that, you know, it is what it is.
You got it. The man with the golden voice can be found on YouTube, and you can check out his channel in the description of this video. Right now, we got a Red 4 unit laying the smack down on Blue 4 in the open with his PKM. Just check out if he got anybody. I don't think he did. Smoke is being popped, and Blue 4 is being forced back into the town. Lots of fire coming down on that earlier front. Saw both sides firing through that clearing. Rob and Kappas and another Blue 4, or I can't exactly see who that is, Valar, all BC, advancing forward, trying to advance, just not quite in this clearing, but is going to be crossing the MSR, and are going to be approaching in very, very close proximity to Corporal Nelson on this flank. Taking another brief overview, that three-man element of Blue 4, the furthest in front for their team. Other Blue 4 elements, again, seems to have been stagnating. That one PKM gunner just laying it down on top of this Blue 4. Lots of smoke being popped, and the Blue 4 are going to be forced back towards, and I guess that's towards the east. Going to be forced to take another route of approach until that MG gunner is eliminated. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all part of an event that we like to call Fight Night. Bravo Company, the event I'm part of, hosts the event, and it is basically a large gathering of a bunch of tactical realism and military simulation groups every Saturday evening for an awesome round of team versus team, player versus player action in ARMA 3. Corporal Nelson decided to take out one of the Blue 4 members as he was in the open, just on the other side of this MSR. He is under close contact now, but at least the Red 4 knows that there's definitely Blue 4 on this flank.
It'd be interesting to see if he actually notices Kappas there sitting on the other side of the fence. They're within line of sight of each other, but none of them have noticed.
Yeah, I mean, take a look even further back towards this, what can only be called like a tower thing. There's a two-man Red 4 element that seems to have sight lines on Kappas, just not exactly sure of their position. That is a deployed PKM gunner, so if Kappas decides to move, and he does go down on Nelson, but he was basically in an undefensible position at that point. Valar, the only person that remains of that three-man element, and I think he just pulled back slightly, basically unsupported at this time. Let's take a look at the other flank in the village. Man, they are still at that same location. Again, that MG gunner, I think he's still up. Perhaps he actually went down. This is where he was firing earlier. Can't ID a body
No, he retreated
specifically.
to the FOB. Bowser
did?
retreated to the FOB. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, so I mean, that was a very, very effective move on his part. You can see him entering the FOB complex now. That's why those machine guns, when deployed, so effective, especially at firing troops in the open. And we can see now the suppression effects on that Blue 4, still in full effect. They aren't moving. They're still holding firm in this village complex where the hard cover is, and only now beginning to move forward.
There's a group being led by Stardog on the immediate east of that, where they're flanking hard all the way around. I'm not sure if they're still within the bounds or not, but
they're definitely getting close.
They are.
Yeah, I mean, they are, but this is probably the best route to take. I mean, they knew that directly towards that FOB from that village. They took a whole lot of fire there. I don't know if they want to chance that again. Stardog says, you know what? I'm just not going to take the risk. We're going to flank all the way around and perhaps take our enemy from their 6, or perhaps even on their extreme flank. Maybe the Red 4 is ready for it, though. There's a two-man grouping over by this rock, this huge rock, just to the south of that engagement where it took place earlier. Is it a PKM gunner? It isn't. They just have AKs and are going to be engaging enemy contacts. Quite a range, though. Maybe they're just giving away their position. Fairly accurate fire, though. I guess they might have binocs, because these Blue 4 are taking shots, man, from like 500 meters away through some trees. They probably have no idea where it's coming from. Let's take a look at Valar again. Oh, man, enemy are pushing up on his position. He's going to be surrounded fairly shortly. We'll see what he decides to do. Deciding to take a nice defensive position inside this pine tree for now. But this flank, again, has been stopped.
If anything, I'd say there's a counterflank on Valar there. Sandwich and Bergamet, he's coming right around Valar. Be some close contact with those three.
Again, the good thing for Valar is he's in some awesome cover, but that's a PKM gunner and his spotter, and I think they know that something's up, because we saw that PKM gunner kind of looking into that tree lines a few times. Valar is just in the right position where he wouldn't be seen, but if he just rotates a little bit more, maybe his weapon will stick out. He's got a saw, so I mean, both machine guns being ready to brought to bear in this engagement. We'll see who spots who first. Valar does have the advantage of being in a nice concealed position. The Red 4, you know, they just have a little bit of concealment, but not much in terms of cover. Bullets, especially from the saw, will rip through this wood. And you know what? Obsidian, they just might bypass Valar if he decides to hold his position. But honestly, I mean, I gotta keep saying it. This PKM gunner keeps looking in the pretty much exact position where Valar is, so they know that perhaps their flank isn't quite secure. Nelson deciding to push back beyond the FOB, perhaps going to try to regroup with more of his teammates.
Yeah, they know their east has totally crumbled, and they need to fix that.
Stardog continuing to move on his extreme flank in a, wow, fairly dispersed fashion, but this whole area is clear. I mean, the closest contact for that Red Force side is a ways away. They've actually evacuated this rocky position. No, it didn't evacuate, but we're actually taken out. Wow, so great firing. I'm not exactly sure who got them. Maybe it was Stardog's team, but those two elements by that rocky outcrop have been destroyed, meaning Blue 4 has got basically a straight shot towards that FOB from that push. I guess perhaps maybe the Blue 4 is waiting until Stardog's team gets in a nice, fairly comfortable position of push, and maybe that's when they'll make their consolidated advance. But again, Blue 4 in the village, still holding firm over by their hard cover. Fairly stacked up too, so any kind of frag or explosives, those guys are going down quick. Let's take a look at Valar's element. Yep, definitely those PKM squad have bypassed him, walked right by him. Valar still attentive, looking forward towards that last sighting of enemy contact, but unfortunately behind him, two PKM gunners. They've walked right by him, and I think they're going to be actually coming in close contact with Yankee Doodle's team, which has been located on this tree line for the duration of this game fairly shortly. Ooh, that's a GL going out. Maybe it's a smoke gun. Wow, I mean, Obsidian, if you saw that, that was a GL, I think from Yankee Doodle. It landed right on top of the FOB. And right now we see that fire being laid out by Yankee Doodle's element. The PKM squad is right there. I'm not sure if they'll get sight lines, but Yankee Doodle laying it down towards that FOB. That's fairly accurate too. Oh man. Yeah, that's definitely one down at that FOB. Bang! Another GL, and this has got to be the approach that Blue 4 needs. Great shots for that Blue 4 team at this time. What is this PKM squad going to do about it? They don't have sight lines right now. They know there's enemy across in that tree line. Are they going to push, or are they going to stay?
My bet is on stay. Especially in the engagement prior with Valar. They took their time. They're going to go around, and here they go. They're going to take the slow crawl just like their other buddies on the east.
Although, Obsidian, I wouldn't say that that's a stay. That seems like it's a go to me as they're deciding to push across, belly crawling across this field, perhaps to flank Yankee Doodle's element. Valar still holding in his pine tree, not exactly sure of the situation around him. We'll see how this two-man element does, but taking a look back at that FOB, their numbers have been definitely whittled down. We can see a casualty out near their spawn point, and man, those GLs were spot on. I'm surprised they didn't kill anybody, but I mean, this FOB complex is still held by Op4, just not many of them. Stardog's element has been spotted, taking fire from that FOB, and taking a look now as we draw back. This is what we were talking about, Obsidian, this consolidated Blue 4 attack, and that is a whole lot of them pushing forward into the tree line, cross that open ground, no problem, and we're going to see basically the concluding engagement of this match in just a few moments. That two-man PKM element getting dangerously close to Yankee Doodle's Blue 4 on this flank.
I wouldn't count out Op4 just yet. If you take a look at the FOB position, they've got huge sightlines everywhere, all surrounding them. As soon as the Blue 4 dude comes up, they're going to spot him unless he's behind a tree or a bush.
Yeah,
so as Blue 4 is trying to make an approach, they'll be able to pick them off if they're careful.
But look how dispersed Blue 4 is. They got such a long run of attack, man. Red 4's got to make their shots count, and it's going to be fairly soon as they start to near that FOB complex. The PKM team getting closer, but unfortunately, I think Yankee Doodle's team has moved off and beyond that clearing. Ixis might just be taking close fire right now as he's decided to stay back with his machine gun and put some rounds on that FOB. I think that PKM squad has just barely seen him. We'll see if they decide to take him out. I think Ixis reloading right now. We'll have to come back to them in just a moment because right now heavy engagement is coming down towards this FOB complex, and looking beyond from this Red 4 perspective, it is Blue 4 everywhere beyond this tree line. It's going to be a very, very tough defense, and they're also got a little bit of a depression on them too, so Blue 4 have the height advantage moving forward. 15 minutes remain, and we'll see what the Red 4 can do if they can hold off. Ixis was eliminated by this two-man PKM team, perhaps in a good position to start moving forward and getting the flank off on the advancing Blue 4. But man, that's just fire superiority for the Blue 4, pushing forward into this FOB. And I don't think there's anything Red 4 can do. They are suppressed, laying down beyond these sandbags.
Yeah, if Op4 brought those guys up from the south and had them swing around and get a corner on those Blue 4, or even if we take a look at the north side, those two Blue 4, Bergamot and Sandwich, they took out 3 Blue 4 in that tree clearing. The only one left of that 4-man team, it appears, is T-Base.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think Yankee Doodle's still up too, just to the left of his position, but they are firing on that two-man element now, so I mean, that element is generally going to be combat effective as they reorient themselves and have to really stop their push. They're at a pretty decent angle to push forward, but that's going to be halted for now. The rest of the Blue 4 elements still up in a huge, it's almost like a platoon line, beautiful, just surrounding that FOB, laying lots of fire down. Valar is still still on his pine tree, moving forward very slowly. Red 4, I mean, still has a few numbers, Obsidian, just a little bit behind the FOB and not directly on top of it.
Yeah, the Blue 4 to Op 4 ratio stayed pretty consistent since the start of the round.
I mean, but now, we still have, I think, just still twice as many Blue 4 as they are Op 4. And, yeah, I mean, they're continuing their harassment of this FOB complex, continuing to lay fire. We see a bunch of smoke going off, too. That could signal the final advance of this Blue 4 element on top of this FOB. We'll see if they're able to make that push fairly shortly. But still, man, accurate fire coming down on top of that FOB. And they got their approaches covered at this point. Let's take a look at that two-man PKM squad. And I think they've just been eliminated, Obsidian, so great job by Team A Sklor and Yankee Doodle on this flank, taking out that PKM squad. They're pretty much destroyed on this flank, so Blue 4 able to concentrate all their men on top of this central FOB position, and I think, honestly, Obsidian, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, they're rapidly closing in. They're easily 50, 100 meters out from the FOB, and all they've got to do is throw in some choice nades, and they got it.
Red 4 still a factor, though, continuing to engage Yankee's squad. Response is huge. Lots of fire towards that Red 4 unit. Able to stay alive. Those shots ringing right above his head. And wow, towards that FOB complex, you can hear the shots ringing past, deafening for those Red 4 in the firestorm inside that FOB. The other Red 4 units outside of that FOB is going to be flanked. Doberman is right here, going to be sneaking up on that Op 4 unit and going to be moving towards him, saying hello. Perhaps he might get shot. Nelson is there. Doberman, yeah, nope, going to be taking out that Red 4 within a meter. Nelson may have noticed that there is a Blue 4 unit on his flank. We'll see what he sees, and he definitely does know that Doberman is in that general location. But man, inside that FOB, honestly, Zephyr, I'm not exactly sure how these guys were able to stay alive. They took so much fire, these sandbags, just providing that extra little bit of protection that they needed. But again, Blue 4 closing, especially on this northern flank where one unit remains. 4 REDFOR remain in this matchup, ladies and gentlemen, or make that 5. Valar is continuing to push up from his eastern direction. Might actually come into close contact with Zim, catching him on his flank, but we'll have to see. And man,
close contact soon with Heartstone. He just gets naded.
Yeah, just got rocked. Bang on frag. Wow, and now it's a very, very dangerous position for that REDFOR. Let's take a look at from their position what they can see. 2 of them huddled inside this one-story hut, and they are under fire and trying to return. But oh man, I don't think they can give what they can get, as Blue 4 just has extreme numerical and fire superiority pushing forward towards this FOB. Doberman and Nelson still in a continuing standoff. Frags being thrown. It's a lot of smoke going out. I think Nelson's going to be trying to recover his retreat to another position. Valar coming into close contact with Zim as well. That is fire superiority. Oh man, let's go inside. And it is pandemonium in there. Oh man. Shots being continued to be poured down inside that hut. I just can't wait to see the final approach. You can see the tracers going down, and let's take a look inside that firestorm as those 2 units continue to remain active. But it's Yankee Doodle's squad that might be the first element to push into this FOB, as they are just a few meters away from this hut. That being said, Zim is there on his flank, and he is pushing forward. But I think he might have spotted Valar as he decided to... Actually, I think he took out Valar as he just decided to look left and took him out within those tree lines. So great shots.
Push on the FOB.
Yeah, here it goes. Close contact. Let's hop into the house. Oh man, and they are just getting destroyed. Bullets rocket through that door. Some bullets firing through that concrete. I haven't been able to fire or take out anybody on the inside. I think there might have been a friendly fire incident just near that shot, and wow, that was a satchel.
Satchel.
Yeah, okay. Oh,
one of them just glitched out of the house. Oh man.
Where is he? Oh, that poor man. That poor man taking fire. He's going to be throwing some smoke off. Hits the net right in front of him. And he's just hoping the Blue 4 doesn't take him out at this point. There goes another smoke. Hits the net out right in front of him. And it will be an OGC member pushing towards this one-story hut. That REDFOR does go down. And that's a satchel. Hail Mary. Take it out with the suicide bomber. Doesn't actually take out the REDFOR inside that. I can't believe it, Zephyr. This guy, able to persevere. Optimus Manatee is right there. Shots being fired, and is able to take out that last remaining REDFOR. Zim, last remaining unit, as well as Nelson over by the extreme flank. And man, that was honestly an awesome engagement at the end there, Obsidian.
Yeah, definitely. Seeing Blue 4 make a push as they're constantly suppressing the FOB, and then finally sending up one guy to plant a satchel in the house. What is that? Yeah,
that was like a Hail Mary suicide vest kind of deal. And actually, I can't believe it didn't actually take out the unit inside that house. So, I mean, a little bit of ARMA physics there, but that was an awesome engagement. And now it's basically just to clean up for Blue 4 as Zim and Nelson are just around the vicinity of that FOB, excuse me. And Zim, yeah, just got taken out. Doberman is right there too. So Nelson is the last unit remaining for that REDFOR team, and he has an uphill battle to face if he wants to do anything. But you know what? I think this game is pretty much game, set, and match for the Blue 4 right now.
It seems so, yeah, and unless Nelson can pull something out of his rear end here, he's gonna have one heck of a time combating Blue 4.
Yeah, and I think Blue 4 knows that there's still something in this general direction. Dinosaur for that Blue 4 team, as well as Yankee Doodle, continuing to move forward towards this forest. And you know what, Nelson's saying, you know what, guys, if we're going to have a fight, let's get this fight done quickly as he moves forward towards that FOB. Nearing that red smoke, Dinosaur is just 100 meters on his flank. So is Yankee Doodle and the rest of his team.
Yeah, for the last 10 minutes, Nelson and Doberman were playing cat and mouse on that southern flank there, or the southern clearing. And,
saying that, yeah, Nelson able to take out Doberman, continuing to fire on teammates beyond. Nelson in a very precarious position, now sandwiched on 3 sides between Blue 4 to his front and both of his flanks. Gonna be taking fire from Dinosaur, and that will be game, set, and match.
Dinosaur taking fire.
Yeah, but this is game over. Op4 have been eliminated. Blue 4 victory. Obsidian, thank you so much for coming on.
Again, thanks for having me, Mike.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, again, if you enjoyed this type of content, be sure to subscribe for more great content to come. Thank you so much for watching.
Fox 2 lines. Class 2 enemy rifle squads.
That BTR just took, yeah, a whole bunch of rounds. It is firing with its main cannon, but its main... Wow, another shot from that Bradley. AGM goes out, and there goes the BTR.